Welcome to the Double Vision podcast. We are identical twin sisters who grew up with a rare retinal condition, which basically means we've had to do a lot of adapting. My name is Jenelle, and I'm the oldest by 4 whole minutes, so naturally I get to go first. And I'm Joy. A lot of our life has been problem solving, a lot of feelings, and realizing that we're probably not the only ones navigating this. I work as a therapist, and I tend to slow things down and look for what's steady underneath it all. And I'm a writer and creative. I have a background in education, and I navigate the emotional journey in real time. She does, and we balance each other out. Jenelle keeps one foot on the ground, and Joy keeps things honest and alive. On Double Vision Podcast, we talk about the social and emotional experience of being in a body. The stuff we all deal with: identity, belonging, and self-trust. We talk about anxiety and overthinking and what it looks like to advocate for yourself and keep going, even when it's hard. We make space for the parts that don't show up on paper but shape our whole lives. If you've ever felt like you're trying to figure out how to be yourself out loud, you're in the right place. Hey everyone, this is Joy. This is just a note to let you know that we recorded this episode while traveling, so we didn't have our typical sound gear with us. Hence, the sound is not what it typically is. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of a warning. It's still definitely audible, and we really liked the content, and so we still wanted to release it, but we just wanted to give you fair warning in case this is your first time listening. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Welcome back. This is Jenelle, and as many of you know, I work as a psychotherapist, and part of my work involves helping people adjust to different types of disabilities, but specifically degenerative eye conditions that can be caused from things like retinitis pigmentosa, Stargardt's, macular degeneration, and diabetic retinopathy. There's quite a number of different degenerative eye conditions, and what I hear a lot from my clients is, I wish people would just understand certain aspects of what this experience is like for me. And Joy wrote a blog post about 10 years ago that we're going to revisit today that touches on 8 things we wish people would know about losing vision from the degenerative eye condition. Yes, and I think we kind of co-wrote it, if I recall. We used to co-write a lot of posts back in the day. And yeah, this one had almost 7,500 views. And I think people just reshared it because they were like wanting their family to see it. And then I think people from like, especially puppy raisers and things, when I was really involved with the Guide Dogs for the Blind community, really wanted to understand, what can we learn from these things? And so we kind of revisited to see which of these we're still holding up over time, 10 years later. And especially what I found interesting when rereading some of these is just how much some of my perspective has changed just from losing more vision. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to go through these. So I'll go ahead and just kind of read like just the heading of each one. And then if we need any explanation, we can do that. And then would love to hear your thoughts, Jenelle, and I'll share a couple of mine. So number 1 is it usually occurs slowly. I think sometimes there's this misconception like, oh my gosh, you have this degenerative disease and it's all of a sudden like you're going to wake up blind, which does happen with certain, injuries or different things. But it generally is kind of like I compared it to aging. That's one of my favorite parts of Andrew Leland's Country of the Blind book. That he's like, as I'm sitting here eating my Cheerios, it's not like I'm losing vision or the letters are disappearing. It's just kind of like when you're aging, you might notice a wrinkle. You might all of a sudden wake up one day and you just feel a little bit older, or you have a milestone birthday, or there's these things that happen, right? Similar to vision loss, where you might go to the eye doctor and all of a sudden they tell you, okay, you're at this acuity or level now, or all of a sudden you realize that you're not able to read print anymore. And that's kind of gradual, but it's typically not overnight. Although I will say now, years later, just talking to different people with similar conditions, that, there's time periods sometimes. Like I have a friend who all of a sudden in her 30s, she lost within like a year, like a ton of vision. And she thought maybe it's stress or hormones, and sometimes people with pregnancy. And I know for you and I, Jenelle, like over the past 2 years, we've lost, we went from it being very, very gradual and incremental to like very quick as far as it entering our central vision. Number 2, just because our vision changes doesn't mean our interests do. And I think some people assume that certain sports, fashion, woodworking are maybe no longer interesting or feasible after vision loss. This really isn't true. And I'm really curious for your perspective on all of your work with clients, Janelle, of kind of what you've seen over the years as far as people's interest and your own too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in my initial like intake sessions with clients, I noticed this is what comes up the most is like, oh, I love working on cars. I can no longer do this. Like people tell me all the things they can no longer do. And I find there's often so many misconceptions about what they themselves believe they can no longer do. And
Mhm.
then over time, as we continue to work together and as they receive O&M training and adaptive skills, they learn, oh, I actually can do a lot of the things I enjoy. I just need to do them in a new way or a different way than I've done them in the past.
Mm, exactly. And have you found that to be true with your own interests and have any of your interests? I know you've always been really into fashion. Has that changed at all for you?
I think it has. I mean, I still enjoy shopping and putting together a look. I think it used to be more instant where I could kind of like glance around a store or around my closet and be like, "Oh yeah, this goes with this. I like to pair this. These are friends." And now it's more like I have to, either consult with Stacy, my number one fashion consultant who I used to own the boutique with years ago, and or like a family member and be like, what color is this, or is this the same shade of green as this other shade, because I'm trying to get these to pair. So it's a little bit different than it used to be, but I still enjoy it.
Yes, agreed. I have similar things too. I mean, yoga is one of my key interests. I know is as for you, and I definitely that has not changed. In fact, that's even increased just because of like proprioception, like your ability to like feel your body in space. Like that doesn't change with vision loss, even though certain teachers and certain classes can feel not as accessible the more vision loss that I've experienced. But I think for me, one of my things though is reading physical books. That has been I still
Mm.
read and I listen to books, but like gosh, I really, really miss just sitting quietly outside or on the couch and just like reading a print book with my eyes. I know I can take braille and know I need to learn it, but it's hard to like, get that quickness of like fluency of reading. It gives me a lot of empathy for like the students I work with who are learning to read and struggling with it. So,
Yeah, it reminds me of the both and joy. Like it's true that you can do many of the same things and just in different ways. And it's also true that that can bring up some grief or some feelings of loss. And I know we've touched on that in previous episodes, but what I really try to do is to honor both, like honor the truth that yes, you can still enjoy your hobbies in different ways. And that's painful in the beginning, or even as you mentioned, like, you still feel that pain sometimes of like, "Ah, I just miss the, like, smell and feel of just reading a print book versus listening to something or, maybe stumbling through Braille." We didn't learn Braille as children, so it's not something that will just, like, easily come to us in our middle age.
right. I mean, even we walked event my husband and I walked into Barnes and Noble the other day. I'm like, oh, I love the smell of a bookstore for some reason. And I used to love glancing around at the titles. But now, I can pull out my meta glasses and I can be like, what title is this? Read the back of this. And it's kind of fun and funny and amusing, but it's just different. So, okay. Are you ready for number three?
Yes.
So, number three is it can feel socially isolating. I hesitate for this one. I never, again, I don't want things to feel negative or anything or to have misconceptions of like, oh no, it can be the same or, people don't have to give up their relationships or, those things don't have to change and they don't. And yet there are a number of things that are part of social interactions. I mean, eye contact's one of them, of course. But also just, when you are at a party and you might see someone across the room and wave or make your way toward them, like there's just not an ability, especially when you reach a certain degree of vision. But I think always I was never able to be at a crowded space and really like spot someone across the room or anything. But it still can feel like I love to connect with people, as I know you do, Janelle. And for me to not be able to like comment on someone's earrings or clothing automatically. I mean, and you don't want to come up and like start touching someone or, do you know what I mean? Like, just want to be more awkward or make someone feel even like uncomfortable because there's already this othering that happens with people with disabilities. And so there's ways that I think we try to adapt and blend in to make sure that that othering doesn't like exponentially increase when we're in social interactions, right? So it can feel, I can find myself being quieter than I want to be. And I've heard people tell me that I'm shy, and I don't think I'm naturally shy. If I'm honest, I think that that's like a conditioning of, "Oh my gosh, I don't wanna embarrass myself in this social situation."
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I guess for me, it brings up sort of that tension that I think we sometimes feel on this podcast of here we are, these voices putting our messages out there for people to listen to. And we want it to feel uplifting. We want it to feel motivating in one respect. And then we also, I think, want it to feel real and be authentic to our experiences. And so I think we kind of feel those tensions of like clearly we're not like a Lachi or a Molly Burke where you're like, this is amazing. And we're putting this like really like more positive frame on things. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think that here we're trying really hard to like talk about all of the different aspects in ways that feel really true to us. And I think for me, what comes up for this one, that the social isolation piece is just what I notice in different environments. So my moods, my feeling of connection can feel really strong in environments where I'm familiar and the people, my access needs are being met, the people around me understand my needs. And then I'll go into a different environment, say like one of my son's soccer tournaments, and I will just feel so overwhelmed by the amount of visual aspects that are going on around me that I don't have access to, or that I have like really limited access to, and feel like really disconnected. And I really notice how it shifts my moods, how like I can feel
Mm.
just so completely drained after a 3-day tournament of just spending time of like, wow, I really only grasped like a small amount of what was happening in that game from the little amount of vision I have to what people around me are saying. And even when I have friends or my husband who are maybe describing like, oh, your son's taking a penalty kick now. I mean, that helps a bit, but it is this sense of loss of like, gosh, I wish that I could be seeing this in real time. And so I guess that's what I noticed for this one.
Totally. Yes, especially with sporting events, and I know for my daughter when I watch her dance, and yeah, oh, I do wanna bring this up that the whole FIFA app during the World Cup, I love that you got to be the one that knew the information before any of the sighted people. Can you tell people a little bit about that? I just love this so much.
Yeah, well, so my family was really into watching World Cup, and so I noticed that FIFA had an audio description app that I put on my phone. It was free, it was really easy to use, and it was actually really good. They from the moment the game would start or before the game would start, they would describe the uniforms, they would describe the crowds. I really like details like, oh, the crowd is so angry at this call that they're throwing water bottles onto the field. Like, I want to know those kind of things that other people get to know and that maybe aren't always being mentioned in the commentary, the general commentary. And so, what was funny though is this app was about 30 seconds ahead of the television. And so, I would know that a goal got okay, yeah, a goal was scored, or I would know that a goal wouldn't count because
Like you
there
had a
was
crystal ball.
some kind of a call where they weren't counting the goal. And so I would know this in head of my family members, and I would have to kind of have that poker face because they would get irritated with me if I told them something in advance. But it was really nice to have that information and to feel like really clued in. And it helped me feel really part of the excitement of the World Cup in a way that
Yeah.
I don't think I would have if I was just trying to follow along on the regular television.
And that's all part of it, right? With that social isolation, social interaction, it's the connection. I mean, I imagine you could be at a bar and really make some people think that you were a psychic or something, or you could have some good bets if you had this app, and they would be like, "How did you know that?" So,
Yeah, yeah. At one point, my husband did. We were sitting outside listening to my app because we couldn't get a table inside where the televisions were, and he heard Egypt score a goal, and there was tons of Egyptian fans inside this restaurant. And so he walked in, and right before they were about to score the goal, yelled, "Goal!" And people were looking at him like he was crazy. And then once the goal was scored, they were like, "Did that guy just call that goal?" And they were just laughing about it the rest of the day.
I love that. That is great. And that does kind of bring me back to the whole thing of that some of the social isolation is sometimes the not knowing information that is around us. And I know recently you and I attended this training on hearing loss because we have about, there's a number of people in the blind deaf population that we work with, and about how the two senses out of all of our senses, sight, smell, touch, that the two senses that are considered the distant senses are sight and hearing, meaning that you can, perceive things from a distance. Just like for my hearing right now, I'm perceiving that there's some yard work that I'm hoping is not going to impact the sound here. And that, the rest of the senses you usually have to be touch, taste, smell, like up close to perceive what is happening versus, gosh, that is really loud. I'm really concerned. Anyways,
It was like perfect timing with mentioning the distance.
it was.
The
Okay, that was just
sound.
our example, everyone. But that has made me think about like, oh, I never knew that that's like, yeah, it's about what you can perceive from afar. And a lot of times social interactions are that. You're not going to go up because it's not appropriate and it's awkward and start, touching people that you first meet or that you're seeing again. So anyways, moving on. Are you ready for number 4?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So number 4 is that it can be confusing, even for us, to determine what we can and can't see. And for me, this one is honestly one that's really important because I can get really confused and like, oh my gosh, how can I not see this photo someone just sent me? And yet I can read the text. I mean, at least in the past, like with my eyes or under certain contrast, I can read the text that goes with it, the caption, but I can't see the image. Or maybe sometimes I can see the image, but it's after it was described to me. And then I can kind of conceptualize and my brain fills in the details because I've seen this object before. But I think that like for me, it really brings up when people say like, can you just tell me exactly what you see so that I can understand how to help you better? And I don't know why that always annoys me because I'm just like, no, I don't always know. So for me to try in real
Yeah.
time to tell you exactly what I see, sometimes my brain is working on it. like,
Yeah,
and
no, this comes up for a lot of people, or people feel like, oh, people think I'm lying about what I can or
yes,
can't see. And it's not about lying. It's about sometimes the lighting is different. I mean, that makes a huge difference for me. If the lighting is just right, I can actually see details of people's faces. But when there is so much lighting, like that it kind of washes people's out. And actually, what was helpful 5 years ago in terms of lighting, like adding light 5 years ago helped so much. And now adding light makes things worse. And so that shifts over time too. So it's really confusing. And I understand that it can be confusing for the people around someone who's losing vision too. And I just encourage everyone to give people the benefit of the doubt. If someone says they can or can't see something, believe them.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Number 5 is kind of along the same lines. We can have bad and good vision days.
Exactly. Just like I was saying before, like there's so many different factors, lighting, how much sleep we've had. And I actually really appreciated, Joy, you and I both just at separate times participated in a clinical trial in Southern California that was testing different assessment tools. And one of the things I loved about the questions they asked before on each day of the trial that we would start testing out different assessment tools for vision is, where's your vision at today on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 is the worst vision day, 10 is the best? Like, what number are you at? And I found that really helpful because I don't really think of that on a daily basis, but I can say, like, yeah, some days I'm more like a 6 or a 7. Other days I might be more like a 4 or 5. And so just kind of recognizing where you're at for that day can just help.
Exactly. I appreciated that too. And I still think that it's fatigue, stress, so many things impact, all of our senses, but especially vision. Okay. So number 6, it's not something most of us dwell on daily. Gradual degeneration is a lot like aging, as we mentioned earlier. And it's not like people look in the mirror daily as they're aging and like, what new wrinkle has arisen today. I mean, maybe some people do. But this one for me, this is still joy that I definitely am aware more recently over the past 2 years because we've had so much degeneration. It is something that sometimes comes up daily, but for the most part, I go on with my day and it's not something I'm thinking of. All right, number 7. Some of us use mobility aids like dogs and canes, and some of us don't.
Yeah, we touched on this on our anniversary episode. There can be someone with the same visual acuity or same levels of peripheral vision, and one of them uses no aids and another one does. People are at different spaces in their journey. And so it can be easy to make assumptions about how much or little someone is seeing, but really, we don't actually know. And there's going to be different preferences.
Yeah, I mean, some of us, like Janelle mentioned, move about the world completely differently with the same, you could have 19 degrees of peripheral vision and one person is using a cane, one person a dog, one person using echolocation. Some people trained in these things very extensively. Some people have self-trained themselves. So it's quite a wide spectrum when it comes to mobility and how people choose to move around. And so I think the perception when you have a friend or family member and you all of a sudden see them with a cane or a dog can be like, oh, had this huge drop, or now they're completely blind. And it might just be that they've reached a point where they're like, oh, I've run into enough things and I'm feeling like I need this. But you might see them at another time not use. I think this is something I would really want to mention where there could be times where I'm not using my cane because I'm in a really, really familiar part of my neighborhood, or I'm juggling too many things. And I'm like, I have a shopping bag, especially when my kids were little. I have a child's hand. I have different things. It's really hard to like hold, your water bottle and you're this and you're that when you have a cane and a dog. And I know people probably listening might say, well, use a backpack or do this or that. But there's just times, you're out and you haven't planned ahead. I think that's one of the things with vision loss or maybe any disability is that planning that it takes to kind of have all of your tools with you and to be prepared can be a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 8, most of us lead regular, happy lives. And I had mentioned in this post, and it's funny because I hadn't even remembered this, that I had done a presentation with my guide dog at my niece's school, and that a couple of her friends had come up afterwards and were like, oh my gosh, we feel so bad for your aunt. That's so sad. And then I thought, oh my gosh, there's something missing in my presentation. If that's what they took away, I have missed the mark. I need to add some. I didn't know the
What were you
term.
saying in that presentation?
I don't
Sounds like
know.
a
Was I
real
like,
downer.
I am losing my vision. All of you feel sorry for me. I mean, I thought I was just kind of showing what Roha could do, but I'm sure maybe in their minds they were thinking, oh my gosh, this would be really hard not to be able to do these things. That could have been it, right? But I it was before I knew the term disability joy, but I still knew about a lot of the fringe benefits that blindness can bring. And I had mentioned that at the end of the post. And I think one of the fringe benefits you mentioned earlier in this episode, like you can see what's happening in the World Cup 30 seconds before everybody else. Can you think of other fringe benefits that either clients or you have mentioned of blindness?
I think it causes a slowing down, which I know in our culture might not be seen as a benefit, but we live in such a fast paced culture and it at times can cause harm to be going so quick. I mean, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And that there is just a sweetness to slowing down in life in general, which disability in general causes us to do. So I would say that is a benefit that people might not always acknowledge as one, but I really feel that. And people start to notice that in their own lives, just the ways that they're slowing down and kind of noticing the present moment more than they may have in the past.
Absolutely. And also just the amount of funny things that can happen. This is what I had mentioned at the end of the post that I had
Yes.
reached out to touch the crosswalk button and instead started pressing on a man's arm. And that was so there are so many moments of amusement. I mean, even my husband and I were in Malibu the other day, and there were a number of people, I think because of the warm climate, experiencing homelessness there. And there was a gentleman who, as I got up to leave our table, said, "Hey, blind lady, look down at your toes. They're bright like carrots, and eat your carrots. My mom fed me carrots every day growing up, and I have perfect vision." And then what? But this wasn't even the funniest part. So I was kind of annoyed, kind of
bizarre.
like, yeah, it was really bizarre. He's like, he started to go into great detail. And, Ben and I were like kind of polite people. So of course we could have just walked away, but we were like, standing there wanting to, like, I don't know. I always like to give people dignity and whatever mental health challenges he was, experiencing at that moment. And so he was going into great detail about the roasted chicken that his mom would make and all the carrots. And then if you could just do this or that. But what I hadn't realized was that there was this other kind of bystander observing the whole thing. And as we were walking away, he leaned over and said, he's going to try to charge you for that consultation. We just were cracking up. Like, it was just a funny. I think there's oftentimes hilarious things that come about that I'm like, I would never have experienced this if I didn't have my cane or if I wasn't blind. And wow, what an interesting world we have to experience.
That's a really good point. Yes, there's so many unique experiences, and for better or for worse, we're experiencing them. So why not laugh about them a bit, or why not be able to just like, wow, this is happening. This is part of my experience, and I'm going to find some laughter in it, and maybe at times some connection. And I just wanted to add that if there is anything from this episode that we have missed, and clearly we have not covered everything, if there's anything that stands out to you that you want to share, we would love to hear from you.
Yes. And I just wanted to add that if you listen to the very end of this, the kind of double vision outro that plays, you will hear a phone number and an email address. So you can always call and give us ideas, suggestions, and we'll be setting up a WhatsApp soon as well. So if you're on WhatsApp, you can leave a little message. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and see you next time. Thanks for listening to Double Vision Podcast. The stories and perspectives shared here reflect our own lived experiences with blindness and disability and do not represent all blind or disabled people. This podcast is for conversation and reflection only and is not intended as therapy or a replacement for professional mental health care. If you're enjoying the show, please rate and review wherever you listen. You can also leave us a voice message at 949-414-8336 or email mail@doublevisionblog.com with any suggestions for future episodes or comments. Special thanks to our production team, TLS Productions and Benjamin J. Thomas.